Dear friends, glad to meet you all. It's 4 minutes past 10, Friday 13th of May. We're doing a usual stream with Olexiy Arestovych. Glad to meet you, Olexiy. Likewise. I'm sorry for a technical delay for several minutes, but I think we'll catch up. It is day 79 and we're discussing our news again. What happened during the last 24 hours. All right, Olexiy, mic is yours. What deserves everybody's attention that happened? Let's be a little more original. I have some news to bring that have not happened but will happen. So we do have a bit of a drawback in the shape of a Russian offensive, another one. Somewhat aggressive, very directed, not wide range, but smaller. So from Popasnaya, they got some troops that will try to go to the west and north. Near Avdiivka, they had 3 attempts to push, and they got some backup gathered there. They want to break through, and understandably so, because Central Command wants them to surround Rubezhny and Severodonetsk and Lysychansk. And in Zaporozhye, there is a tank battalion, a really scary one, battalion tactical group. So this is our story, and we're excitedly waiting for these kind people to attempt their offensive maneuver. So I mentioned before, what is the mistake they're making? I would not be making that mistake. However, they are attempting to follow the same route, the same concept they've been pushing through before, which is impossible to achieve with their current resources. I'm trying to not use expletives. So I need to say that I'm excited with the work they're doing. So as you said, in the last day, did they move for a day, for a kilometer or anywhere? No, they tried, and they still cannot. In New Avdiivka, they've been trying for almost 80 days to push through, and they cannot even get 1 meter. So this is a very difficult direction for them to try advancing again. We've destroyed a lot of groups there. We'll probably destroy this one as well. So there is no real threat from these groups. There is a tactical threat because they'll be pushing, they'll be attempting to push forward, they'll be shooting, we'll be shooting them back, so tactically there'll be quite a bit of risk. But this is a perfect way to destroy your resources and eliminate your troops using our defense. Alright, I got it. Let's address another one. I think you heard that Senator Rand Paul, because of his special position, has really paused the flow of processes on the 40 billion support to Ukraine. I remember reading his statement, and one of our political leaders did mention that, of course, it is understandable that America wants to track their financial expenses, but it is of a bitter flavor when every day of slowdown causes more of your allies to die on the battlefield. So remember back in the day, there were interesting moments when now deceased Senator McCain accused Rand Paul and Rohrabacher in supporting Putin, or being supported by Putin. So just, bringing the old memories up. And they have about 10 Republican senators who are really pushing back. And there was an attempt to separate the 40 billion from the addendum of an inspector, so they could push both through speedily, but he refused to separate them, so now they have to address and bundle them together. So how long do you think it'll take? Americans will figure it out. I suspect they will overcome that. It'll be a bit of a drag, but it's nothing unsolvable. I need to mention that we also wanted to have another stream today with Valery Solovey and Andrei Kosmich. It was a satire, the repetition of Putin's funeral, live stream, and Andrei disappeared. We understand who is holding them, who grabbed him. We can only say that we know who you are, we know where you keep him, and your turd in Kremlin will die anyway. So we'll have to be careful handling him, because there'll be a time when Putin will be no more. And we'll just transfer this webcast to a later date whenever we get our friends released. I'm really surprised that there are people in Russia who actually managed to do that from Russia. He was in hiding. He was hiding pretty well, and people think they can hide from the regime, but it is not easy. There are a lot of people watching us. We already have thousands of likes. I think it's over 300,000 people watching us live. I forgot to mention, please subscribe to my channel, to Alexei's channel. If you're listening to that in English, subscribe to the Privateer station, and please click the like button. That matters. That actually pushes that video to a wider audience with algorithms, because Google does censor news dedicated to events in Ukraine, regardless of which side you represent. All right. Look, another news just popped on my radar. Pentagon requested to adopt this law about the help to Ukraine before 19th of May, because after 19th of May, Pentagon will have difficulties supplying Ukraine with anything unless this law is being signed. Pentagon is basically explaining that from the earlier contributed support amounts, there's only about 100 million left. So in order to continue that in a non-stop mode, they do need support from Congress and Senate bill. So if people who are watching this cast know American senators or congressmen, or do want to contact your American senator and congressman, please do so. And I doubt the senators really watch that cast in Russian. Side note, we do have them in English, Mark. And Olexiy mentioned that some of the congressmen actually have these webcasts translated to them personally. Again, we hope they get their hands onto this webcast. Olexiy, I also had Chinese looking for you from the Chinese agency. Which agency? Joking. It was news agency. They wanted to get your interview. Okay, well, we'll connect us. Help me connect with them. And also, Shoigu apparently talked with Lloyd Austin. So it is their first contact from the beginning of war. It appears there was their first communication, tete-a-tete, two ministers of defense. Is there any word about if they have any understanding? I think it is in the framework of diplomatic hustle that Moscow is trying to do now and sending their emissary everywhere. Sorry, I had to close the window because I had an airplane flying over me. See, just as you mentioned that, we only have now 120 points possible where you're located. I don't care. I got a military bomber flying over me. Oh, so we probably will have a air defense siren going up because of the bomber that just flew from you? No. That's a different bomber. That's from a good side. So, see, that's what Kremlin did recently. They collected a bunch of diplomats. I'm trying to remember the right word. Dallas's. If anybody watched 17 Moments of Spring, that's a USSR miniseries about the military intelligence. So they're all working for a certain framework that states, let us say we were a little too hot-headed, we need to apologize, and we need to make a couple steps back and figure out how do we work in future. And Erdogan from Turkey basically voiced a similar approach. And the slowdown with Germans, where does it come from? Russia is trying to trade things up. Let's do like Minsk 3. You know, we had previous Minsk 1, Minsk 2. Easy to remember. But our president Zelensky already addressed that. He came out and said that French president suggested that we should give up some of our land to pacify Putin. And also, as a background to that, Finland is trying to join NATO and Sweden is trying to join NATO. Turks are against Finland doing that. Turks are always trying to figure out their own agenda, and there'll be a lot of consultations, and I think they'll overcome that, and Finland will join. What we hear, the sides did not come to any conclusion or understanding on a wide range of topics between Russia and America. And it's good. I mean, they haven't found common grounds. Okay, status quo remains the same. And the only thing one can draw from that is that Russia is really making a big effort to get a peace accord. Right, so leave us what we captured and let's call it peace. No, it is nothing. It is not the thing that will happen this time. We need to kick them out, kick them back, and at least retain our borders by the 24th of February this year, or even get further territories. Right, if they're so welcome to negotiations, they might as well do a gesture of goodwill and let the Mariupol defenders out. I'll defer to Irina Vereshchuk, who asked us to not discuss that issue in public much because it is very sensitive and she is working it. Not many people know, but she is also an officer of Ukrainian military. She served in the military and she has a rank, so she basically was speaking as a military officer yesterday. Please refrain from discussing certain aspects of this matter. You know, there is another idea. In business, if somebody does not really trust you, you can make a deposit. And if you backpedal from a deal, we'll just take your deposit and no harm, no foul. So, you know, Russia could do the same. They could free Mariupol defenders, and that'll be their deposit. And that'll be their payment for the initiative of negotiations. If they work, good. If they don't, then not. So that would be probably another way to approach it. Let's give our president and vice prime to do their work. Interesting suggestions, but they asked some privacy on that matter. Okay. Another thing to discuss. South Ossetia announced they'll be doing a referendum in summer. So I'm seeing that could be a small testing ground for Russia to see how the world reacts when one of their annexed territories from Georgia tries to, so to say, declare allegiance with Russia. So in regards to that matter, I want to ask Georgia, are you going to do anything about your territorial sovereignty? Or you'd still be cursing Arestovych and Podolak back? They already said that they don't like you, right? Yeah. They don't seem, current Georgian government does not seem to like me much. But it could be a little rehearsal for Kherson, for Ukrainian referendums, so they want to see how would the world take it. If they'll take it, fine, then that's what they may do in Ukraine. If not, then they'll probably do something else. They actually like doing it. You can see there's a pattern. They do a little bit of small test of things, see how it goes with everybody in the world and the West, and if it is accepted, then it's fine. Remember when they threw some chemical on Mariupol, on Azov Steel? And that was basically a little test of a chemical weapon to see the reaction of the West. And the West reacted strongly. They said that'll be an escalation, and we'll deal with that in a new way. So Kremlin abandoned the chemical weapons. And it seems like they're doing the same thing with Ossetia now in Georgia. So you think, given that Russian troops do not really have any military left there, if Georgia now would have undertook some military activity aimed at regaining South Ossetia, do you think they have a chance? I am not keenly aware of the state of their military in Georgia. I have no idea how capable they are, how battle-ready they are, but I have a very good understanding of the current Georgian government authorities, who are definitely not capable of doing anything with that territory, because normal government authorities on the level of prime minister should not fall for arguing with the talking heads of another government. We're not officials, neither me nor Podolyak in our comments that we addressed to them, and they went all out prime minister level on us. So I'm just asking, hey, Georgia, would you do anything when Russia grabs your territory, not just de facto, but also de jure? You'll really lose it. So, curious. Do you think there's any continuation that may happen? I know that West and international community will react to that, and that'll be a good test of their reaction to that war, to such wars and such actions of Kremlin all over the world. I need to remind that in the Security Council of United Nations, 3/4 voted against the veto right for Russia. And let's see how the whole world reacts to the attempt to push through a referendum on the occupied territory. And of course, the major players like Britain and the United States. All right, let's look at the other matter. Lavrov already issued his reaction to Ukraine possibility of joining European Union. And he said that his position has changed, or Russia's position has changed about Ukraine joining the European Union, basically saying that European Union is an appendix to NATO. It is an aggressive military bloc. It's becoming an aggressive military group. I can elaborate on that. The thing is, in European Union, they're also discussing a possibility of hiring a collective minister of defense, because they do have a financial body, they do have a diplomatic body. This would be a military body, separate from NATO, because NATO is not European countries, it's also Britain, America, and Canada. So this would be just a European Union military group. And Russia understands that if European Union creates a military and then Ukraine goes and joins it, then Russia will really have no options to threaten this group. It will be another reason for concerns, because they are losing any military right to threat any of the European countries. It just obsoletes their capability militarily. So do you think now Ukraine possibility of joining European Union did become stronger or weaker after all this, these Russian statements? I want to say that after all the things that happened here, different things happening. So Russia sends its emissaries around the world to slow things down. Ukraine is declaring that there are more buchas down in the south as well. Europe knows that, but yet they still talk about the first probable option to strike peace with the cannibal regime of Russia. And some countries are saying, no, we'll not block oil for not 2 years, not 5 years, could take several tens of years. And Germany is still sitting on their hands, not shipping the equipment they could have otherwise. So imagine it goes to European Union for voting on Ukraine. How much power will Kremlin throw into that potluck to try to stop Ukraine from joining? Like Solzhenitsyn wrote in his book, if prisoners would not be fighting internally between themselves, the convoy would have no power over jail. So that's what's happening with many European countries. Many of their leaders are looking for ways to strike a deal with Kremlin and get on some Kremlin money action. And that slows things. It changes perspectives. About 404,000 people watching us. We've been live for about 21 minutes. Let's go back to Finland and Sweden. We understand Moscow reacted very painfully to their announcement to join NATO, because Russian border with NATO became longer by another 1,000 kilometers. And it's not just a militarily threat, it's more of a geopolitical loss for Moscow, with a loud kick in Moscow's direction that was claiming they're doing the warfare just to stop NATO for expansion. Here is NATO coming closer. So what can they use to stop it? Do they have any tools to prevent it? You said there was a 6th Army on the northwest. They pulled it back to that territory. What do they have there to prevent any military action? Oh, the 6th Army doesn't exist. It's nominal. So they have maybe 2 brigades instead of 2 or 3 divisions that they used to have. They might have gotten a little bit of help initially, and they were sent to Ukraine, and then they were destroyed to the degree that there's really nobody in there, just a core structure. The commanding officer was removed and is being prosecuted criminally. Maybe there is a bit of Baltic Fleet they can add to that army, but that's about it. But we all know what is Russian Navy under Putin's management. I'm sure those 2 countries have their Neptunes and Harpoons and other missiles to deal with that fleet. Plus, they'll be members of NATO, so Russia has no perspectives. So that gamble that Russia started with attacking NATO and stating that NATO should not be expanding, now, a few months later, NATO is expanding. That's a great move, great activity, great win for Russia, right? Keep in the same manner. I also want to say that Putin's picture of the Second Army of the world turned out to be fake. So Kremlin did not realize, starting the war, that we will not run, that their troops will not fight, and their ass will be kicked so hard they'll roll back into Russia. Now I want to say about economy. Kremlin has huge expectations about their own economy. They think it's pretty stable, and they think it will sustain itself despite the sanctions. But I want to say that by July, September, when the sanctions will really start hitting, that stool will also lose an economic leg, not just a military leg. So Russia will have to sit on something that has maybe one leg or half a leg, because their economy will be just as bad as everything else. There cannot be a healthy economy in the country where everything rotted so deeply to the core. And he is being awaited further down this year. There is another surprise for him waiting in the field of economy, just as big as he had in the field of military here in Ukraine. So the countries working against Russia on the economic front will just help us to destroy them faster. And their attempts to negotiate through will fall through. Mainly because of United States and Britain position, and Poland and Ukraine. And there'll be a normal military fight, which I suspect will get hotter in July, August. They probably will change their character in terms that we will be attacking and Russians will be defending. And we'll be just destroying their groups here and kicking them out of Ukraine until we kick them out completely. And then there'll be a question: A, will Russian economy be able to support any form of mobilization? Secondary, any additional economic pressure that is related to such an event as mobilization? And can it also do that while holding the sanctions impressed on it from the West and the whole world, as a matter of fact? And I'm sure the answer to these questions will be just as surprising to Russia as to Putin. And it'll be a big problem for Russia, and it'll be a big joy for the whole free world. I think comparing potentials of NATO and Russia is a doomed proposition. Summarily, NATO has almost 2 million soldiers. Who ever thought that there is a way to win over NATO? I want to say in Russia there are some dimwits like Morozov, who is a congressman in State Duma there, who probably licked all the sphincters of his superiors in Putin's government. And he recently just came out and said that they're going to increase denazification levels in Ukraine and will follow with Poland after. So I'm looking at his statement and thinking, what are you sniffing or smoking? How crazy do you have to be? How out of touch with the world can you be that you can think that you will get into a NATO country, a group that has almost 2 million soldiers with equipment? With what powers? How can even you get there? No, summarily that congressman is actually counter positions himself to the president statement, who said officially that it's our goal to prevent the escalation in global war. Yeah, but that's how their government works. The thing is, right now, Polish army is joining us, giving us weapons and supporting us, and without NATO, they're just helping us. And you could hear that Lukashenko also changed his rhetoric. He's actually giving compliments to Polish army now. I'm also observing what Russians are doing on the front. They initially had a huge attempt, like a grand scheme maneuver to surround everything on the eastern front. Didn't quite work. And that change of rhetoric by Lukashenko in Belarus and some of the bloggers in Russia who are already looking for people to blame in their own command. These are people already screaming that, look, we need to find who's responsible. We've been wasting our troops for 3 months. We have not achieved anything. There's got to be generals who are responsible for that. In the meantime, these generals still throw their troops to cross in the same place, the same river, and they've lost about 100 pieces of heavy equipment. And they're talking about Poland. Poland has like 50 rivers like we do. And good luck crossing or doing anything there. And not even talking that you first have to do anything with something with Ukraine before that. There is also another interesting piece of news today that they have over 5,000 criminal prosecution cases about the treason activities in the occupied regions. So, and we should understand that if these are criminal investigations open, that means that in reality there were more. These are just the ones where they could get the paperwork together, get enough witnesses together. So, there are interesting people supporting all that Russian shenanigans. I saw another piece of news today that there was one of the first soldier that is being announced. He's going to court. The court started today, and this is an officer of Russian army who shot. He was a commander of a tank, and he used his personal AK to shoot a 60-something-year-old unarmed civilian. So what is his possible jail time? Probably a life term. We'll see. So these people like him and all the prisoners of war will go through court, right? Yeah, if we can, and they get their life in jail. Well, if we can prove things, yes. Let's take that other pilot that you shot down who killed the first civilian who came to him. Why would have he done that? It's a stupid action. He should have just surrendered. Yeah, probably he was afraid that's another Ukrainian Nazi or somebody who will kill him with his hands or equipment, farm equipment. So he just turned and shot him. But yeah, these people, they'll be in court and the court will decide. We still need some proof and the proper procedure. As an attorney, I want to say that war makes things simpler. I'm not against it. God sees I'm for making things simpler and faster, but there is a process. Yeah, if we speak about that, I'm the one who can make it longer, and that's what I was doing in Russia, helping my clients, but they kicked me out of the bar. They debarred me because I was trying to be too effective, and the system there does not like good attorneys who work against them. So, yeah, there is a lot of investigations happening. Our people, our criminal system is working, then there are international experts working. So, in a long perspective, yes. And our military intelligence is also saying that they're monitoring that many of the Russian officers, especially the Air Force officers, are requesting their command show to not have record that they partook in that Ukraine campaign. They're already afraid for their future because, the normal path for a military pilot is to go then to the civilian air fleet, and fly international or wherever. And if he was a criminal in Ukraine, guess where he'll be flying? He'll probably be working as the security in a local gas station market. Alright, 35 minutes live. It's getting late, we're a little tired. I need to remind you that we're doing that NFT project on the OpenSea portal, where different artists from Russia and other places those people who are against war, Ukrainian artists, we put their NFTs up there, and the money that we raise by these means we're giving to people we find those personal stories that we think we can help with in Ukraine. So now we're trying to help the family of a girl who's 4 years old, whose mom is in a filtration camp. Many people also wrote about the family from Kramatorsk that was maimed by that missile that hit the train station. The daughter lost a leg, mother lost some limbs. So they'll be probably our next recipient of grant. So please send your art, and we'll be placing it on our account in OpenSea, and all the proceeds will be dedicated. Those who are watching us from Ukraine side, please help us find Alisa's relatives, contacts, because her mom is still in filtration camp with Russians, and we need some adult who is in charge of her now, maybe a grandma, grandpa, somebody from the family. So please let us know. And yeah, everything that is being sold on that portal will add to these stipends or grants to these families who suffered from this horrible war. Thank you again, Olexiy Arestovych, who spent his Friday evening with us. Again, thank you to all viewers. Please subscribe to Feygin Live, to Olexiy Arestovych channel, and also to the Privateer station. Please do not forget to leave your like. That really matters. And have a good night.